Healing the Eating Habit, the audiobook. Introduction. It is more than a decade since I healed my own eating disorder. I am eternally grateful that I am no longer a compulsive eater. In this book, I share with you the ideas, knowledge, and insights that enable me to be healed today. I am sitting in the small, bright sitting room of my West Hampstead flat, the flat I call home, eagerly starting to write this manuscript. It is a hot, glorious London summer. The summer is alive like a force all of its own, oblivious to the humdrum lives and dramas of the cosmopolitan inhabitants of this city. I am lucky to be one of them, an Irish immigrant just starting her first self-help support groups for compulsive eating women in a local holistic centre. I breathe. I am aware of the warmth of the room, the distant sounds of a radio, the green of nature majestically swaying and rustling in unseen breezes. I am yet again reminded that 6 months ago I watched snow lying on this same garden landscape. What a transformation! A huge transformation comprised of a million tiny steps of gradual progression. Who could define those tiny changes which, all added together, comprise the evolution from winter bleakness to summer abundance? I often think of nature as the perfect metaphor for what we all do as we involve ourselves in the personal growth and self healing process. Affirmations repeated are the drops of rain nurturing a seed to growth. A goal visualized is the dream of summer dreamt in winter. A written goal and a plan for achieving it is the snow laden tree which produces small green buds, small green leaves, and then a mass of fully mature leaves which rustle and sway in the glory of a goal accomplished. Blossoms, the prerequisite to fruit, are the daily times of meditation where peace and beauty are found and later lead to the fruit of healthy relationships and a satisfying life. The daily practice of forgiveness and release is the fertile soil in which the seeds of abundance flourish and grow. The first light green haze of newly opened buds, like mists enveloping the woods and forests, are the hushed whispers from our higher selves, calling us to heal and guiding us on our way. How healing the eating habit got its name. When I started working in the field of personal development and healing, catchy, meaningful titles accompanied most workshops available. A good idea. A title that concisely sums up your work leaves everyone instantly clear about the workshop content. I had advertised my work under various headings such as Is Weight and Food a Constant Concern? Weight Loss is Easy, and all perfectly good titles, but I felt they lacked a certain oomph. It seemed as if the new age had just hit London. Many famous American authors were doing lectures and workshops here, enlightening all before them. I was enthused and felt privileged to be part of a growing awareness of light and healing, a multi-level conscious evolving for the planet. So, with such dynamic forces at play, I felt it was my duty to live up to the highest expectations of me. A few people had already asked me, "What's your workshop called?" And my reply was, "I don't have a name for it yet, but if you think of something appropriate, I'd appreciate you letting me know." Time passed, and still no name workshops were doing well. I had already started putting this handwritten manuscript on my computer and was tentatively realizing that my dream of writing a book was in fact unfolding before my eyes. Then it came to me, the title for my book, Healing the Eating Habit. The title was held in my mind, clear and definite. I felt so good about discovering an appropriate name for my book that I typed it out on my computer in big, bold, italic letters, Healing the Eating Habit. At that time, I was happily expecting my first baby. I began to take on one-to-one sessions as well as my weekly support groups. I thought about using the newfound book title as an overall title for the process I was teaching. I thought about the word habit A habit is a learned response, a settled tendency or practice, certainly something that can be altered, improved on, or even changed completely. That seemed to describe exactly what I was doing in my work. Yes, I was certainly yes, I was certainly dealing with habits and the business of changing them. Even more appropriately, the word habit is sometimes attached to the idea of addiction. Now more than ever, I wanted to convey the idea that a person who regularly eats, even though they are physically full, is a food addict. What I had experienced when I overcame my own eating disorder some 10 years previously in 1983 was definitely the conquering of my addiction to food. And it was more than a conquering, more than a changing, it was a healing. Through reading Susie Orbach's book, Fat is a Feminist Issue, and following through on her ideas and guidelines, I had been able to completely transform my eating habits from those of a compulsive eater to those that are completely in harmony with my body's own hunger and fullness sensations. What I had experienced with great relief was a true and complete healing. I said to myself, yes, this healing is what I want other women to know and experience for themselves. The more I thought about it, the more I felt how perfect it was to call my book and my work in individual sessions and workshops Healing the Eating Habit. Ask yourself, ask yourself and several of your friends, are you completely accepting of and satisfied with your size and shape? Prepare yourself for a few negative responses. The point I would like to emphasize here is this. Most people are not at all accepting of nor satisfied with what they have the most intimate of connections with, their own bodies. Changing this lack of acceptance is one of the first steps in healing your eating habit. In this audiobook, we shall look at the role of self-acceptance along with how and why to develop it. I will show you how to learn the difference between emotional and physical hunger. We shall look at emotional issues and how to resolve them. All this and more is explored in the following pages in an effort to understand and conquer this modern day scourge, which is addiction to food and obsession with size, shape, and appearance. Where the obsessive behavior comes from, how it manifests, and how to heal it permanently will be covered so you can gain greater knowledge of what makes you the person you are and how to change the bits you want to change. To be a food addict and to want to overcome the food thing is a position in which many women find themselves today. Reading a self help book such as this one, joining a support group, or forming one will all help you kick your overeating habit. This book is very much a step in the right direction. I congratulate you for having the courage to face up to your eating habits and weight problems and to tackle the underlying emotional root cause of overeating and binge eating. I am delighted to share with you the concepts and tools which enabled me to recover and stay recovered from my own eating disorder and emerge with relief into a world where food holds no fear and a natural, truly nurturing and pleasurable relationship to food replaces an addicted one. Breaking the negative cycle of compulsion is possible. Sometimes it needs persistence. Always it requires a true desire to get better. Using the tools that appeal to you and with the support of good friends, a support group, or therapist, you do find your way to a completely healthy and natural relationship to food. This evolves as a natural result of following these three guidelines. 1. The awareness of when physically hungry and physically full and acting appropriately on those inner cues. 2. Raising self-acceptance. 3. Pinpointing and resolving emotional issues rather than suppressing them. These are the three major guidelines which enable us to lose any excess weight and maintain that weight loss permanently. Following these guidelines is our main objective now. The loss of excess weight naturally and permanently results for anyone who has these three guidelines operating in their lives. Let's consider each one of these guidelines in detail. Guideline 1. The awareness of when physically hungry and physically full and acting appropriately on those inner cues. This means knowing when you are genuinely physically hungry and eating at that point, knowing when you are genuinely physically full and being able to stop eating at that point, knowing what emotional hunger is, what it feels like, and knowing what to do when it strikes. All this may seem like the simplest thing in the world to do, but believe me, it can be the most difficult if you are a compulsive eater. However, with the right knowledge, practical tools, and practice, healing your compulsive eating habit can be successfully accomplished. So, what is emotional hunger? Emotional hunger is the craving to eat even though you are already physically full. The sensation of emotional hunger is experienced in the mouth rather than in the stomach. Often referred to as mouth hunger, there is a distinct difference between this craving or compulsion to eat when full and the healthy desire to eat as a result of genuine physical hunger. The difference between these two hunger states is what you will be familiarizing yourself with in the first few weeks, few months of healing your eating habit. This can be a very rewarding and interesting time. What to do about emotional? In order to be able to stop eating when physically full, it is necessary to know how to handle emotional hunger. Here's how. Respond to emotional hunger by first of all tuning into your feelings. You can do this by asking yourself one or all of the following questions. What feeling is this? What emotion am I experiencing now? What emotional issue or problem is this about? What words can best describe how I am feeling right now? Is this feeling held somewhere in my body? Can I feel an emotional sensation anywhere in my body? Secondly, whilst allowing yourself to experience your feelings, ask yourself this all important question. Given the fact I feel this way, what would I like to do now? And then get busy doing it. Knowing this, what you would like to do at that moment in time when you are physically full but still crave to eat more is the means by which you break out of those old negative eating patterns. For the answer to this all important question is the healthy alternative to stuffing down the feelings. When you get busy doing this on this when you get busy doing this healthy alternative, you are meeting your emotional needs appropriately rather than stuffing them down with food when full, and you are well on your way to healing your eating habit completely. Please remember when asking yourself the question, given the fact I feel this way, what would I like to do now? That it is, what would I like to do now? Not what should I do now? I should be cleaning the kitchen, mowing the lawn, or defleeing the cat. But what I would like to do is probably something completely different and much more likely to meet my emotional needs. For example, you have just finished eating a hot meal which you really enjoyed. You allowed yourself to eat exactly what you wanted and stopped when you were full. You are now sitting in front of the TV. You have just finished a nice cup of coffee and three of your favorite chocolate biscuits. You want more biscuits. You feel the urge to go into the kitchen and find yourself some more of those biscuits to eat. You ask yourself, am I physically hungry? The answer is no. You check in with your stomach, noticing how it feels, and it feels full. You notice the craving, you notice the craving to continue eating. Now, this is the time to ask yourself, what feeling is this? What emotional issue is this? You notice that you're feeling dissatisfied with your living arrangements and especially your flatmate with whom you have had several arguments. Now that you have realized how you are feeling emotionally, dissatisfied, and what the issue is, whether to get a new place or live and stick it out here, you ask yourself, given the fact I feel this way, what would I like to do now? You look around and realize that you have grown somewhat tired of your flat. You notice that you have a strong desire to move out, and even though fear has always stopped you in the past, you resolve to look for a new flat. Thus, the answers to what feeling is this, and given the fact I feel this way, what would I like to do now, are very valuable, for they provide you with an appropriate alternative to eating when physically full and help you resolve an important emotional issue. It is this alternative way of dealing with your feelings which allows you to experience and resolve and integrate your feelings easily and cease eating compulsively in order to suppress your feelings and emotional issues. The practice of asking, "What feeling is this?" and given the fact I feel this way, what would I like to do now? And following up on the healthy answer further enables you to resolve your emotional issues and thus helps you to stop eating when physically full. Often I am asked, but what if when I ask myself, what would I like to do now? The answer is have a large gin and tonic, or a cigarette, or pick a fight with my husband, or eat 10 chocolate biscuits even though I am definitely full. Well, as you are probably aware, none of these activities are the healthy, ideal alternatives for which you are looking. You know that all those activities, if carried out, would only be abusive to either yourself or your husband and are just another form of stuffing your feelings down into suppression rather than dealing with them constructively. This is swapping addictions as opposed to resolving the root cause of that addiction, the unresolved emotional issues. So when this temptation to stop addic so when this temptation to swap addiction arises, you can come back to the old reliable question, given the fact I feel this way, what would I like to do now? And follow up on the healthy answer you receive, thus ensuring that you do not swap your addictions but completely break through your tendencies towards addiction to a healthier life. As you continue on your own personal road to recovery, you will become more and more aware of when you are doing something in order to distance yourself from your feelings. This awareness increases until you are in the constant process of feeling your feelings and acting appropriately on their guidance. The suppression of feelings becomes nothing more than an inadequate means of coping. This can take some time to evolve, so do not worry if you are not sure right away what is addictive behavior and what is healthy behavior. The intention and willingness to be more aware of and open to your own feelings is enough to make great progress in this area. In truth, you are becoming more intuitive. End part 1. Healing the Eating Habit by Sophia Bothwell, available from Amazon.